being a Hall of Famer during those 6 wins, that run, is Gronk. One of the great tight ends of all time, but still a wide receiver can do so much more for you than a tight end can. I think Brady did more with less around him than any quarterback that's ever lived.
I agree.
William Wilson, Brady, and Gronk. Sorry, David. Bam, Dell. Oh, Lord. Hold on to your hat, David Holiday, as he did last week when Tammy was chastising his hat. He was pulling it down, I remember, at some point. We'll kick it over right now to Mr. Holiday, the Holiday King. Trio of options right now for you are, I love these guys, the Three Stooges. Better chemistry. Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier, former teammates, or Ric Flair versus Sting. David Holiday.
Three Stooges, because not only the chemistry was in the things that they said, but in the physical comedy aspect of it, they were right on mark. I mean, they invented so many things in comedy, the slaps and the kicks and then the one-liners. I could still watch the Three Stooges today. They were fantastic together.
Would you agree that if there were no Curly, there'd be no Chris Farley, no John Belushi?
Oh, 100, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they were trendsetters, and a lot of people followed in behind them to try to recreate that same time.
Were you guys fans of Mo, the grumpy one?
Loved them all. Can't have them. Can't have one or the
other. We have Gretzky and Messier with an early vote here from JC. Del, should I read you the trio again?
Yeah.
Sure. We have the Three Stooges. We have Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier. We have Ric Flair versus Sting.
Flair and Sting was good, very good. I was there for a lot of that during the time I worked for WCW. They had their deal going on, and it was good, very good. Again, great chemistry. And again, just a shining example how Flair could work with anybody. He did it with Luger. He did it with Sting when they were green. He made them look good, made them look great, and helped build their careers. Rick could do that very well. Gretzky, Messier, unbelievable. But easy, the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges. I mean, by far. And listen, they did it with a different Curly. Or was it Joe? It was Joe. Yeah. And then they did it with Shemp, who was great. Now, my favorite Stooge of all time is Curly, but Shemp's is in second, and it's close. I like Shemp.
Would you guys agree that Larry was a bit of a genius too? Understated, but good timing from Larry.
Absolutely. I mean, they all brought something to the table. They were all very different, and that's what made them so funny together.
David, there's a wrestling term. I don't think anybody sold better than Larry. Larry sold really well every time he was on the receiving end of Mo's attacks.
And the physical comedy they did was unbelievable.
It was.
I'll tell you somebody else that was really great in physical comedies, Michael Richards, or Kramer on Seinfeld.
Oh, he was incredible.
Yeah.
And he took a lot from Art Carney, who played Norton in the Three Stooges. A lot from him. My favorite was just by watching old reels. I didn't know who he was as a kid, but I grew up probably about 10 or 11. Buster Keaton, man. Incredible physical comedy.
Love Buster Keaton.
Loved him.
He was incredible. The ultimate dry man, Larry from the Three Stooges. Tammy says, gotta be the Three Stooges. J. Mark Fleetwood says the Three Stooges. Ed Hauser said the Three Stooges by far. Tammy says maybe Ric Flair against David Holiday. Maybe. Sir, he has got Paul Roma coming up in 2021. Stooges from Mindy. And, of course, Taekwon says Stooges as well. Our next trio of options. Kicking over to Mr. David Holiday. We have Sonny and Cher. Their comedic timing was pretty good. We have Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes. You remember some of those matches probably as a kid. And we have Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Again, great era for NBA. Pippen and Jordan. Would Jordan have won all those rings without Scottie Pippen, the greatest basketball player to ever play the game? Absolutely not. Scottie Pippen was a big part of those championships. They're the reason why all those great NBA guys during that time never won rings. Chris Mullins, John Stockton, Karl Malone.
Weren't they the Nightmare Makers?
Yeah. I mean, there would have been so many of those teams that win national championships today if they were around.
The 93 Suns with Barkley and Kevin Johnson. The 92 Blazers with Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter. The 91 Lakers with Magic, James Worthy and company. The Utah Jazz twice in 97 and 98. The 96 Sonics. And how about the East Coast teams? The New York Knicks, the Indiana Pacers. Oh, Charles Barkley said it best 2 years ago. He said he still wakes up, and he was being serious about this, which is rare. He's in rare form when he's serious. But he said he wakes up in cold sweats, still dreaming about the 93 finals and how it meant so much to him, and he felt like he let that slip through his fingers. And I love hearing something like that because it means it still means something to him. We have Mike and Scotty from Sean Archer. Rick would kill. Tammy's still on Ric Flair killing David Holliday, so I guess Tammy's a little distracted with that. Del Wilkes, we have Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. We also have Ric Flair versus Dusty and Sonny and Cher.
I can stop you right now. You don't need to give me the first choice. I didn't need to hear the first choice. Growing up as a kid, as a teenager, being in college, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes was pure magic. And I'll tell you why it was even better than Flair Steamboat. Technically, in the ring, you couldn't top Flair and Steamboat. They were both technically sound. But Dusty was such a personality. The greatest promo in the history of the business, in my opinion. He had that flair. He had that charisma. He had that passion. And the people loved him. They ate him up. You know, the common man promo that he cut where he stuck his hand out TV screen and said, touch my hand, in relating to the common man. Nothing in the history of pro wrestling that I've watched, that I've been a part of, can top Flair and Dusty Rhodes.
So well said. And we have our viewers who are trickling in with their votes. William says Dusty versus Flair. Tammy says Dusty and Ric Flair. We also have, Dusty was a hoot without question. So that wasn't close for you, Del. Not even close.
Not even close. And I want to relate this to you, or to the story.
Yeah.
I was reading about Dusty, you know, when he and Dick Murdoch were together and earlier in Dusty's career. Dusty was sort of a flashy guy. He dressed nice. He drove Cadillacs. And then he sort of changed his persona, and he became Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Just an ordinary guy, right? Just an average guy that represented the average American, the middle-class, hardworking guy. And he said he realized that when people saw him out in public,
right,
in order for them to believe he was what they saw on TV, the suits had to come off, the gold had to come off, the blue jeans, the flannel shirts, the ball caps, the cowboy boots, the skull ring in his back pocket, all had to become a part of his daily life. If he wanted the people to buy into what they saw on TBS every Saturday night, and he literally just became this iconic figure in the history of the business.
Would you agree, Del, that he talked people into the building and the arenas?
He did. Absolutely better than anybody I've ever seen. Dusty was a good athlete to be a big guy. Dusty was light on his feet. He could move. He had good lateral movement. He didn't do a lot of technical stuff in the ring, but Dusty was a personality that could get on a microphone and literally talk people into a building, into spending their money.
Love that. Love that. Ed Hauser, Flair and Dusty. J.C. Farina, Flair and Dusty. And J. Mark Fleetwood, Dusty and Flair. A couple more of these right now, kicking it over to Mr. Holiday. Next trio of options for better chemistry. We have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. We have Larry Bird and Kevin McHale. We have Bruiser Brody and Abdul the Butcher, who've probably had a million matches together. David Hall.
Hell and Bird were fantastic together. Again, I know I keep bringing this up. It was a magic time. It brings me back to my childhood, pretending that I was Larry
Well, it might have been
Bird.
in the 80s. It was a bit tragic for Magic during certain years. We know that because of Bird and McHale.
Yes, it was. And but it's fun to see the relationship between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
It is.
That came out of that later. But Bird was just was a character. You didn't have all the social media and everything back then. So, it was kind of a mystery to know that Larry Bird was the biggest trash talker in the game. You didn't necessarily see it, but he never backed down from a fight. Those teams with Philly.
He got Dr. J incensed in a couple of fights.
Dr. J took a few swings at him. I mean, Larry Bird was a good old boy. I remember him telling the story that if one of his brothers got into a fight and they didn't jump in, that Dad would give him a whooping when they got home. He was a man.
And every single time I start thinking about James telling me to give him a plug for right guard, I will. But you know what? You showed up last night and you're talking about Howard Collato, Mickey Doyle. Can they talk sports? I don't think so. Mickey Doyle still has to remember what year he was born. Mickey Doyle has to remember where he can retrace his steps, and he has to recall exactly how much milk he's had for the day. And Howard Collato can't talk sports. Howard Collato knows nothing about sports. Some of the sports that he subscribes to, we'll never talk about here because they're not sports. So that gets me heated, and I grab my right guard right away. Right guard, Arctic Refresh, Extreme Defense. It'll last up to 72 hours. I'll need that stench of Howard Collato, Mickey Doyle, rubbed off the presence of this show every time I even bring up their names. I don't want to even summon up that energy because they curse this show, they put a hex on this show, we don't need them around. Thankfully, right guard will alleviate all of those issues I just brought up.
That's right. Go right guard.
Guards.
I want to bring up a story before I kick it over to Dell, and the viewers are coming in with their votes as well. I'll bring that up. Larry Bird essentially became bored in the regular season. Larry Bird was so incredible, and of course his work ethic was amazing. There were sights of him showing up for home games in the Boston Garden and running up those flight of stairs for about 4 hours before game time. And amazing, what work ethic. And if anyone that knows me, work ethic means a lot. And man, I respect that guy. Now, there was a bit of a rivalry, a friendly one, between he and McHale. In the 85 season, Larry Bird was leading the league in scoring. And as a friendly bet, they were already winning, I think they were on pace to win 67 games. That team with Bill Walton in 85-86 did just that. And I think it was about 20 games left in the season. They clinched the East. Every single game, they topped each other. Kevin McHale would drop 50. Larry Bird would drop 52. Finally, Kevin McHale told Larry Bird, if you sit out the last 5 games, I guarantee you, I'm going to win the scoring title. Larry Bird said, I'm not going to sit out the last 5 games, but what I'll do is this. I'll only play 20 minutes. Kevin McHale proceeded to drop 57 points and 61 in 2 straight games. Larry Bird in about 3 games where he only played 20 of 48 minutes would drop an average of 54 points in 20 minutes. That's per game, folks. That's per game. And that's Larry Bird, and that's Kevin McHale. Dale Wilkes, we do have Larry Bird and Kevin McHale as one of your options. We also have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Bruiser Brody and Abdul the Butcher.
Bird, McHale. It's easy. Not even close. And for all the reasons you guys named, I mean, McHale down low in the post was like rubber. The way he could contort his body, the defense, just the chemistry they had. Those Celtic teams were phenomenal. And there's things of Larry Bird images I love. One is when he's in the All-Star game and it's the 3-point contest and he puts that old bent up finger up there, number 1. I don't know if I've got it where you can see it. But, yeah, that old crooked finger's up there, that old Steve Spurrier-looking finger. Spurrier had a finger like that. And before they went out that night, he said, all right, he said, you guys ready to go out and see who's going to finish second? Because he called it he was going to win it. And a good story from a guy that's a Columbia native, a good basketball player in his own right. He played at AC Flora High School in Columbia, a guy named Xavier McDaniel, X-Man.
Oh, X-Man.
Played at Wichita State, and I've heard
Absolutely.
him tell the story of playing against Bird and just how much trash Bird talked to him. And he was talking about what he was going to do to Larry one time when the Celtics had the ball and Larry popped up on him and dropped the 3-pointer. And he told him, he said, next time I come down the court, he said, I'm going to hit it from right here again. And he went down, put it up, game-winning shot. And X-Man said he had never seen anybody that talked as much trash.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Rodney McRae, who played in the NBA as well for the Houston Rockets and Dallas Mavericks. Rodney McRae told a story where Larry Bird told him, look, I'm telling you where I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to run down the perimeter and hit it top of the key. He did just that, and McRae did everything he could to stop him, but couldn't. Incredible.
One of the videos, real quick, that I love occasionally to go back to YouTube and watch.
Can I guess which one it is?
Tell me.
Is that the one where he grabs his own rebound and lays it up?
No, that's a good one as well. The one I love is the reaction from the Atlanta Hawks bench in that game against the Hawks.
Hits the
where
3.
he just kept hitting shot after shot.
In the Superdome, New Orleans.
And those guys on the bench in Atlanta are just going crazy.
It was a neutral game, and you see Cliff Livingston hugging Dominique, and they're all just having a great time. Watching Larry Bird rip them apart. I love that. That's incredible. Oh, man, that is good stuff. Guys, we have a couple of more, I believe, by looking at my list here. We have 2 more. These are some legends. I wonder if David Holliday's going to go this route. Your trio of options are the Marx Brothers, Bill Russell and Bob Cousy, or Randy Savage and Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, man, I like the old comedy. The Marx Brothers were some of my favorite shows to watch when I was younger. Harpo, Groucho, I acted like those guys. I got
Chico.
a chance to do a review play some years ago where me and some buddies played those characters, and they were bigger than life.
Who were you?
Funny together, and I was Harpo.